Oh, what's up, guys? Welcome to a very peaceful episode, except for that truck that just drove by in the middle of nowhere. It has been stupid hot here. It hit 100 degrees today, and for most of New Mexico that's pretty normal, but for here in southwest New Mexico where I'm 6,000 feet up, it's not cool. Not cool at all. So want to get out some Milky Way, and I remembered that I have this filter that you probably can't see, but it is my magnetic breakthrough night sky filter. I was looking at the Milky Way, and I'm looking at this peak that I wanted to try to get. I wanted to try to get them, had a shot in mind, and for this specific aspect, I'm 30 miles south of Silver City, which is heading towards another town, Deming over there, which is that way, and there's a lot of light pollution coming in from Deming, and I figured that would be a great thing because I want this shot of the Milky Way over this little mountain range, but I know that there's going to be a lot of light pollution, so I'm going to give this a go. I only have, oh yeah, real quick before we get it further into this, Breakthrough did send me this a while back, but they didn't ask for a video. They don't even know that I'm doing this video, so this is in no way sponsored at all. I have used Breakthrough photography filters for a while now, and it's just what I use. So not sponsored, not being paid, everything I say is my own. Alright, let's get into it. So I only have one size. I only have this 82 millimeter, which is for the bigger lenses that I have. But that lens is filming me right now. So I have my 14 millimeter on my R5. That's not my R5, that's my R6. And I have my 35 millimeter on my R5, both of which this does not fit. So I'm just gonna hold them. I'm just gonna hold it over and just try to be really, really still. I've already failed epically a few times, but I think we can make it happen. I just have to get into the zen of filter holding. And I'm just gonna hold it like this. I've found the composition that I want. With the 35, I want a tighter shot of the Milky Way, and on the R5, because it's 45 megapixels, I really have to watch my shutter speed. So I'm actually at 5 seconds, f1.8, 6400, and I'm gonna take a couple shots with and without the filter on, so that we can see, and then once we get the shots, we're going to go into post, and we're going to find out if this thing really helps or not, and then see what we can do in the editing process. I have a suspicion that I would be able to, I'm going to go ahead and take the shot and see how crazy, if I can hold it and talk at the same time. I have a suspicion that I can do most of this filter reproduction in the post editing process, but I don't know for sure. So that's what we're going to find out. We're going to see if this is going to be worth it to have on you, and or if you can replicate the effects of this in post if you are good at editing, which hopefully I am. Okay, so we got that one. I am going to also attempt to hold this over my 14 millimeter. It's gonna do some weird things because the 14 is a bulbous element, but I'm gonna end up cropping in on it anyways, and just to see. None of this is super scientific, but it's fun, and this is the type of stuff that I like to do. I also apparently like to turn the camera off and not remember. So we're just holding it over. For the 14, I obviously have different settings. The R6 you can get away with longer shutter speeds because it's half the resolution of the R5. That's a pretty wonky looking image. There's a pretty big, pretty pronounced vignette right there. But if we zoom in to roughly, that's about 28 millimeters, and I think that's about the focal length that I want for the Milky Way. We have Cook's Peak over there in the bottom left. So I think we've got the shots. I'm gonna grab a few more. I just wanted to start the video out here and get the in-field intro going. Let's go hop back into the studio, get some tea, and check out these images, and we'll see what we can do on the computer. Alright, well, it's the next morning. I mean, technically it's only like 5 hours later. I didn't even get home till after 2 last night. And I have sleep issues, so here we are. I have not looked at the images yet, but what I did do is right after we cut, I found some better compositions just down the road with some really cool rock formations and a little less light pollution. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the first images and look at how the filter affects the light pollution, if at all, and I'll do a quick edit on one of those, and then I want to look at the last images, one because they're way better in terms of the photographer in me is much happier with the last images that I got, but also because where I was, there's less light pollution, so I want to see what the filter does to the night sky when there's no light pollution, and if it helps, if it changes anything, and then we'll go from there and see how I feel about it, and if it's worth it to use one of these things, and if we can do all of this stuff in post. And even if we can, it may still be worth it to have the filter in certain situations. So we'll go over all that. So let's get into it right now. So like I said, let's not pay attention to the artistic quality of these images. Because this was literally on the side of the road. But they have what we need to analyze. So, alright, so here's an image on the R5 with the 35mm. Same settings. This is without the filter, and this one is with the filter. So right off the bat, we can definitely see the filter changing those colors a little bit. We can also see just a tiny bit of maybe reduced night pollution in this area of the sky pollution. But mostly what we're seeing here is a color difference. Alright, so we've got these both open in camera raw. So there's the one with the filter. There's the one without the filter. So let me see what I can do to clean this image without the filter up real quick. Alright, so all I did there was adding some contrast, do some local highlight reduction there, and we seem to have that's a more closely matched image to this one. You can obviously see this one still has more of a magenta tint overall, and that is, I'm going to say, from the filter. So, but if we look at the before and after, so this was the before and that's the after. So I would say right off the bat that with a few tweaks we can pretty similarly it's too early in the morning for those words. We can pretty similarly emulate the effects of the filter for the most part, what I'm seeing here. So the good thing about the filter though is that it takes that first few steps out, and like I said, this is the image without the filter, edited to emulate the filter, and I haven't edited the image how I would. This is just to get like the basic corrections to sort of match the filter. This is not the finished edit for how I would edit the image on a, like, for an actual publishing the image anywhere. So that being said, we still have to go through those phases, you know, those edits, just to get to basically square one for editing that we would be at with the image from the filter. So you can definitely see that without the filter, you're losing a little bit of that light pollution. It is cutting it down just a bit. We're also getting the overall color temperature going back to something more what I would consider normal or cooler, because the light pollution is always going to warm things up, and it has that greenish tint to it without the filter, and then with the filter we get that slightly more cooler tint. We are getting a little bit of magenta though, and I personally don't like that much magenta in my night images, so you know, I could bring that down a little bit and then also cool it off even a little bit. But that's getting into editing. Let's look at another image. So that was the first round there. So let's go look at a couple other images that might be a little more edit worthy. So, oh, look at this real quick. So here's the images that I did with a 14mm where I held the filter over, and you can see just the massive vignette. It looks like a fisheye or something, like you're shooting through a porthole. But we can see the same effect. We can see this is the image without, and this is the image with, and we do have, again, that slight reduction in luminance for the noise pollution and that slight color correction. Obviously it would be nicer if the filter was big enough to not have to do this, but you know, I can crop in here a little bit. So something like that. That's not a great composition. So what I wanted actually was I wanted the core of the Milky Way, which is here, over this peak, which is Cook Peak, or at least a little bit. I wanted it at least over here. So I figured out that I'm gonna have to, if I want that shot, I'm gonna have to go back like in April at like 4 o'clock in the morning to get that shot. So maybe next year. Alright, so let's look at these two shots here. This is the rock composition that I want, and I lit these up, and I'll probably edit that later, but that's not for this video. We're just going to look at this scene. Has a lot less light pollution because the rocks are blocking it, and the light pollution in this case is over here to camera left. So we have a little bit there. We can see this is the without the filter on, and then let's jump to with the filter on. So we've got a big loss in light luminance and light pollution here, and then we have just overall slightly more contrast and a slightly darker image. So this is one where you can really see that this is really dark skies. This is in like the second or third darkest level skies that you can get, and you can still see, you don't see it when you just take a regular shot. But then when you put the night sky filter on, you can really see how it cut all the light pollution that was just slightly creeping in to these dark skies right here. And look at that, the right side of the image, and you just see that tint, you know, that greenish yellow tint, and then you just see it's overall a little brighter. And then here's with the filter, and it's cutting through all of that, especially down here in the bottom left. It's really cutting through that. So this is where it's making a nice bit of difference. And then, you know, let me just go ahead and do a couple of super quick edits. So that's a before, and that's an after of just some really super quick edits. And that's maybe a little bit too, I would probably sit on this for a little while and then come back and look at it. That's usually what I like to do for Astro when things that I'm editing pretty heavily or drastically in terms of changing things. But that's not bad for a single shot. And the filter definitely gives you that, slightly cleaner, slightly more dialed in image to start with versus the non-filter. Here, let me do, that's the before on the filter image, and that's the before on the non-filter image. So it gives us a little better of a starting point for sure. Alright, so I think this video is getting pretty long. I'm gonna go ahead and stop it there before I get too carried away and make super long editing videos that nobody cares about. Basically, I just wanted to show a couple of examples of what the filter does, how well it works, if it can be if it can be emulated, and if it's still necessary. And I think that it definitely works. Obviously, it works to a degree, so it doesn't, don't have those high expectations of night sky filter cutting all light pollution out, and obviously it didn't do that. There's still light pollution in the image, especially in those first images where we're shooting directly over the light pollution of a little town. However, it gives you that leg up for that starting point, and I think that's a big advantage. I also think it's super nice for when I do like astro time lapses and stuff where I can put the filter on and then I don't have to edit all of those filter emulations for, the whole time lapse and stuff, and that's a big time saver for me. So personally, I'm definitely going to keep it in my bag. I mean, I've had it in my bag for well over probably 8 or 9 months now. I've had it, and like I said, Breakthrough doesn't even know that I'm making this video. They didn't ask me to make a video. This is just something that I wanted to do because it's Milky Way season. Astro's one of my favorite things to do, and I want to show you guys. So maybe it'll help you with your astro images, and if not, I also wanted to show you that it is possible that if you don't have one, it's not the end of the world. With a little bit of editing, you can definitely get your Milky Way images looking as good as possible, as long as you have some good techniques for Photoshop and stuff like that. Alright, that's it. It's second breakfast time. I'm starving. It might actually be first breakfast because I think all I've had is tea this morning. So I will leave you with the final images that I edited from the shot. The ones that I'll probably be posting to Instagram, not the ones from the side of the highway. But if you guys have any questions about the filter or anything I went over or didn't go over concerning this filter and the video and the editing and all of that, leave those in the comments below and I will definitely answer them. Hit that like button if this video helps you out, because that's the best thing you can do for me and I super appreciate it. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.